If you guys are paying attention to me, at least one of my channels, uh, my last video, well, it'll be on this channel. It was labeled my mom. Try to get the smoke out of you guys' eyes. But it was labeled my mom, and I was talking about my mom. Well, I didn't get to tell. I started to tell this one story, and somehow I got screwed up on it, and I started telling it, and I changed. See, folks, my freaking hair on my face grows one direction, and it bugs me when I see it like this. So I start pulling on it. I don't know. I have to cut it off or something. Trying to cover up other ugly shit. This shit, I don't know what this is, but I got a knife sitting over there. That sucker's already, it's pretty big now. It's getting bigger. Goes from right about to, it's getting pretty big, but it gets too much bigger. I got a fucking K-bar over there. I'll take that sucker off with, but I didn't get to tell the story in that video about, yeah, I said my mom was she was tough. And I'm telling you what, folks, I knew small women growing up that were tough individuals. That I'm telling, one of my friends that I grew up with, I knew his whole family since I was probably in the second grade, I think, second or fifth grade, somewhere around that. A long time ago. But he had a family of, there was 8 brothers and 2 sisters. And his father was killed in 1964 when he was young. He was the youngest of 7 brothers and 1 sister. He ended up having another brother and another sister through a stepfather, half brother and sister. But his father was killed right down the street from my house, not far from his own house, in 1964. I didn't even really know him. I was young. His father, I didn't know. But his mother was about 4'8" if she was an inch. If she was, she couldn't have been much. If it was 4'8" or 4'9", She wasn't even 5 foot tall, and she couldn't have weighed 100 pounds soaking wet. And these older boys that when their father died, that they kind of went wild a little bit. They had a little bit of criminal background shit, and they loved bikes. Biker kind of. One of them was a biker. A lot of them, or a couple of them, went into the Navy and did their things in the Navy and shit. But there was a bunch of them, and one of them even went into the FBI. Actually, the youngest of the original brothers, we called him Critter. He went into the FBI. He's still in there today. But that little one, the mother of those ended up being 8 boys and 2 girls, was a small woman. And these boys, the tallest ones were over 6 foot. One of them spent half his life in, I ain't doing this about them. Anyway, that little short woman, them boys, and she had me worried too. She had guns and shit. She even drove a Dodge Charger with a 383 4-barrel, and she would smoke the tires going up the driveway, shit, in front of us. Had big fat N50s on the back and shit. Back in the day, that's what it was, folks. And she had control of all of them. Now, my mom was strong like that too. I don't think she could have handled more than two boys. More than me, anyway. She had two boys, my brother. She couldn't have handled that shit. But she was a tough woman. She jumped on a boy that was picking on me and my brother and sister when we first moved into the neighborhood we were living in. And these two boys were big boys. And she football tackled the biggest one of them. My mother wasn't over. She was 4'7" or something. She wasn't even 5 foot, maybe 4'9". So I don't know. She wasn't 5 foot. And she run out and jumped on the biggest boy out there. Boom! Hit him, landed on his chest, and was sitting there telling him, "You keep messing with my kids," and that was my mother when we first moved into this neighborhood. My dad never taught me how to fight with the neighbors. He just taught me how to fight him. My mom taught me how to fight the neighbors. I ain't lying to you. She got so pissed off with these boys, she's setting up. My sister, I think she gave her a broom handle, or a broom or something. She gave me a hunk of chain. I think she gave my brother, he was the smallest one, a dog brush. Had wire, them little short wires. Like, she knew he wasn't going to do nothing with it, but she gave him a damn dog brush, I think it was. She sent us out on them two boys, man. Them boys were big boys. They were corn-fed boys. We were hillbillies. There's a difference. But that's at that point we still didn't have a chance. That was when she come out and jumped on the biggest one herself. And that guy, we saw him years and years and years and years later at a funeral that they were having. I think it was his brother that died, or maybe his dad or something. But and his mother always stayed in contact with my mother, and they were they always laughed about it. My mother was there, and Daryl, that was the guy that, he was the biggest one of both of the boys that lived across the street from us. And he was the one that got football tackled. My mom looked at him at about, she was probably in her late 60s, 70s, looked at him and said, "Do you remember when I tackled your ass out in my front yard?" He said, sure enough. I'll never forget it. I never did. And but she was a tough one. Well, she also, one time my sister and I shared, this was a story I was going to try to tell in that video last night. Me and my sister shared a car. My sister had this car almost a year and a half control of it, because she was a year and a half older than me. So when she got her license, my parents bought this car for them. Actually, they ended up buying 2 or 3 cars before I ever even got to drive any of them. And once I got my license, me and my sister had to go back and forth on who was going to have it for the weekend. Oh yeah. So this weekend that was coming up, it was my weekend to have it. And so I was, my mom and dad was saying, "Well, that car, my dad was telling me, you need to get that thing tuned up and shit. You know that shit needs to happen." So me and my buddy, my best friend, lived down the street, like I was telling you. We were out there, We got the hood up. We pulled the car right up my front yard, right, but we got my tools all scattered out and all around it. We're doing a tune up. Back then, folks, you had to do points and set points and all this shit. So, and I also in a tune up, we had to rebuild a carburetor, and I could do that in about 15, 20 minutes. So it wasn't no big deal. But that's what my dad considered a tune up back then. It wasn't just plugs and plug wires. Uh, Me and my buddies out there getting his car ready. Dad said I need to do it before we use it this weekend. So me and him's out there getting this shit done. My sister, she's just kind of trying to come up with a reason why I can get grounded or something so that she can get the car. That was her whole plan. And I'm going in and out, and I'm like, something's going on. I'm telling my buddy, something's going on, man. Something's going on. I don't know. And but I don't know if I'm going to end up with a car or not. He's going, what, man? It's your weekend, right? And I said, yeah, but my sister. Well, she's in there telling my mom and dad all kinds of shit. I don't even, it might have been some truth and some lies, but none of it was going to be good for me. And see, that was my sister. She'd rat me out in a second to get her way over something. And I just fucking took the punishment and shit. Her and my brother both did this shit to me. And I just took the punishment and I take it out on them later myself. Now, that's why neither one of them really like me today. But they don't know me today. But anyway, I go in the house. My sister comes out of the kitchen. And I'm standing in between in the hallway, kitchen on one corner, and living room on the other, and the front door right directly behind me. And my buddy's standing. He's got the screen door open, standing in the doorway. And I told you in that last video, my sister stood 5'9". I was 5'7". She was bigger than me. And when I said something about her being as tall as a model, I wasn't saying she was model material, folks. Don't get me wrong on that. She was just tall. She had long legs. Well, she was in there saying something, telling my mom a flat out lie, and I was standing there listening to it. And I blew that. My buddy was right behind me with his mind, standing there, and he heard it, and he knew it was a damn lie too. And I come around the corner and I hear my sister's saying. I look at her and say, Mom, she's a damn liar. None of that happened. And my sister turned around. She didn't know me. I was standing there. She didn't know my buddy was standing behind me. Well, she come right straight to me, looked at me, and brought her leg up and kicked me in the nuts. That my buddy behind me said I came off the floor at least 1.5 to 2 feet. She kicked me so hard. When I landed, one punch, boom, I nailed her ass. She dropped, slid down the wall, and hit the floor. I turn around, I look at my buddy. Look to my buddy, he was gone. He wasn't even sticking around. I look up, my sister she comes out of it, she's going, Mom, he knocked me out. Here come my mom. Now my sister was 5'9", my mother's 4'9". There's a foot difference. But there's a lot more behind that one. So I hit the door running. Well, we've got all my tools laying around the hood of my car. I run out and around the edge of my car, the hood's up and shit. My mom, as she's coming across the front, because I knocked my sister out, as she's coming around the front of my hood, my car, she's picking up tools. She's running by that's laying underneath my hood. She's picking up these tools and she's starting to whip them. Well, she busted the windshield clean out of the car. So I wasn't going to be using it that night. So my sister ended up getting her way, but she didn't get her way at all the way. But yeah, folks, my mom, she's busting windshield, throwing tools. She's gonna hurt me with that because I knocked my sister out for doing what she did to me. But my mom didn't know that she walked up and kicked me the way she did. My mom found out. It was probably about 2 or 3 years later that she was having a conversation with my friend that was standing behind me at the time. And he looked at my mom and said, Brian came off the ground at least a foot and a half, maybe 2 feet, when she kicked him in the nuts. I saw it all. And she goes, he did. Well, no wonder he knocked her the hell out. That's what my mom said. Well, no wonder he knocked her the hell out. But my mom was an old tough woman. Now I'm hoping to get enough. I can get it in. And I'll tell you about this about my mom and everything because my mom was also one other thing. She was a history nut. Never knew why, but I think I know why now. And it took till later in life to find this out. But I think I know why it is. But when we were kids, man, we traveled every summer. Every summer break when school was out, we did a month and we went north, south, east, or west. We went somewhere in 90. For the first probably 10 years of that, it was to every place that had anything to have that had any historical point or value. We've been to George Washington's, everybody's house, and I think it was Mount Vernon. We've been to Gettysburg. We've been to all these places, folks. I've seen it all. I've seen the documents because the original Constitution and the Bill of Rights were both documents that you can see, and they were sent to at least 13 colonies, and every colony, or when it became a state, got a copy of it after that. But all the originals went to, there was at least 13 of them that went to the 13 colonies. There probably was more. Let's see. As we got older, folks, like I said, we've been to all these places. I've seen these documents and stuff. And it's supposed to be the real ones on parchment and stuff, because they were those locations. I think my mother was told something when she was younger that we didn't know until my sister run her DNA, and then we found out a lot of information about more or less my mother's side of the family, more than my father's. But my mother, we are related on my mother's side of the family. We are related to Benjamin Franklin. We are considered sons and daughters. We're listed as sons and daughters of the American Revolution because of this relationship through my mother and Benjamin Franklin. I think my mother was told something about that when she was younger, and I think that's why we as kids, and when she had the money that she saved to travel to go see this stuff, I think that's why my mother focused on this stuff, folks. The original Constitution, and that was signed in on September 17th, 1787, was 4 pages. Well, it was 4 pages on parchment was the Constitution. In 1789, there was a 1-page document that was the Bill of Rights. Between the Constitution and the original Constitution and the original Bill of Rights, there was only 5 pages of parchment used. Your income tax law is 70,000 pages long if you include the code book you need in order to understand it. Look it up, folks. 70,000 pages long. Which of the 3 documents that I just talked about, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and the income tax law, do you think they wanted to be understood? 4 pages for a Constitution that gives us inalienable rights that were given to us by the Creator that could not be taken away by man. Man did not give them. 4 pages. 1 page of a Bill of Rights that is telling the government now twice what the hell they can do and what they can't do. And then the government makes a 70,000 page income tax law, making sure nobody can make heads or tails out of it without the code book, for one. But never even got what it was supposed to take to get it passed, because they used the word passed. And if you look it up, folks, they claimed it was passed. Passed don't mean it goes into, that it was found that people wanted it. If I go past you, especially if I know you, I don't want nothing to do with you. If I just walk past you, I don't want nothing to do with you. Now, if I thought you was a good thing, would I just walk? Hell no, I'd walk up and hug you and kiss you and shit. And, maybe give you $1 if I had one. People don't understand the definitions, and your English language and all this has been destroying you. They use it against you every day. They call it legalese or politics, but they use it against you every day. They tell you bullshit, and you believe it. People, God loves you. I love you. Take what you want from all this. But what I really want you to do is seek Jesus' path. Do the things that he tells us we need to do to go to heaven. All these other stories, I tell you so that you know where I'm coming from, where my thinking's coming from, where this old man brain has been and where it's headed, I guess. Because I'm not done thinking yet. This thing keeps running. I ain't kidding, folks. I'll give it to, if I could give it to you, I'd give it to you right now and let you deal with it for a year. I ain't lying, folks. I don't have to. Love you guys. Till the next one.